All right.
There it is.
We are the ZLORD podcast.
There you go, baby.
That's Carter giving us a little rhythm, and I am...
teZa LORD.
Ooh, is that who I am?
All right, teZa.
I sometimes have to ask, who am I? What am I doing?
She has to
Who
ask
and what
that
am
a
I?
lot.
Well, it's nice to, tune in to the truth that I am a spiritual being having a physical experience.
That's true.
That's who I
true.
really am. I don't know about you. Do you think about it often?
Well, more and more as I get older, and more and more as I become less concerned about the day-to-day miseries that are coming at us that are maybe not anywhere near as miserable as they are set out to be through the various media who need our attention or they'll be out of business. So there's a certain amount of anxiety that's created in the general noise that's coming at us all the time that if we're not careful, or if I'm not careful.
Yeah.
And Marshall Goldberg said something.
Wait. Just let me get in there a little bit, okay? What would
You have a comment?
What would life be if we had no TV, no screens, no phone in our hands? I mean, a lot of us are really altered right now because of the inundation of media, like you said. Like, everybody wants to know what's going on, and everybody wants to one-up each other about they know more than the other guy. That seems to me that's a big part of modern day. We don't have to get into talking about specific people right here.
Well, it's happening on the social media in a way that it never did. 20, 30 years ago, there was no social media.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, everybody and his brother's got an opinion, and nobody's hesitant to not talk about it.
So let's cut to the chase. How can we accept the fact that that's happening? Okay, there is social media. There is inundation of news all the time, constantly. And we still have to communicate with each other. I mean, how do you deal with it,
There's an
Carter?
interesting comment a friend of mine made that we were talking about a political issue, and I had a different opinion about it than he did. And,
which happens a lot.
And we're both really intimate friends. I've known him. I love him. I go to the wall for him, and he'd go to the wall for me too. But we're completely opposite on certain things. And he said, and he made the comment that, well, we're involved in different ecosystems. I said, ecosystems? He said, yes. He says, I listen to us. I have a bunch of people that I live around and I'm with, and I'm influenced by their thinking and their talking and the media that I listen to, the radio, the TV, and you are in a different ecosystem, and so the reinforcement that you're getting is different than the reinforcement I'm getting, and so we're all kind of subject to this stuff, whether we realize it or not.
Oh, very much.
We're all subject to being what comes in. Yeah.
Okay. I can give you two examples of how I have really felt like heartache about that. Like recently we went to Virginia, we did some spiritual work up there, and we ran into this person who, as I was saying goodbye, hey, come and visit us sometime, because we live in Florida. And he growled at me, no way am I ever coming to that state, because they're going to murder my daughter who's gay. And I said, oh, God, that hurts my heart. But, we have many, many gay friends here, and for somebody to say that,
bullshit.
Yeah, but that happens, Carter. That happens to people. And then we just one other thing. I'm giving two examples, and then you can talk. Last night we had some friends over, and they said that they actually had to move from Massachusetts because they were just being treated like dirt. Because if you didn't have a certain opinion and a certain perspective and had a certain party alliance, you were absolutely ostracized in their town that they had lived in for many years. So there are people who are
Pretty
feeling...
intelligent place up there, too, in Massachusetts. So it was a surprising comment.
You'd think that people would be more accepting of each other's differences.
But I think what happens is...
But they're not.
That all of us...
It's gotten worse. The division thing has gotten
getting
worse.
It's getting worse, but it's getting better, I think, also, because the good part of things and the kindness of things and the helpfulness of things and the people reaching across and helping each other is a lot, and you see it every day. If I'm paying attention, I see it constantly, and it's big, it's widespread, and I choose to think that we've even passed the tipping point in that, and everybody is recognizing that it's not helpful. And we're getting better. But here's one thing I think about this.
We've been saying that for years, though. That's the whole. It's years. That's the whole theme of our podcasting is to.
We haven't been saying it for years.
Yes,
We've been saying it for 2 years.
Maybe at first we were projecting like the positive image.
We've been saying it for a year.
Well, anyway.
But anyway, let me just say this.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Anytime that I'm really upset, and I get upset just like everybody else. Anytime I'm really upset, 99% of the time, I'm just taking myself too seriously. I'm just not looking at the big picture and all the wonderful things that are going on here. And, you were speaking earlier about, the young people are upset. Everybody's vaping, and the people from the college told you that
vaping pot and cigarettes.
They're stoned out of their gourd in the college. Everybody, and that everybody's upset about. If you're not upset about one thing, they're upset about something else, and. But what's really going on here? If I find myself upset, doesn't take me long to back out and start to look at things that I'm grateful for and that I should be grateful for. Like number one, just nothing else but living in this country. Now, if somebody's listening to this podcast in North Korea, then that's a little bit of a different situation. But I'm talking about if you're in this country. The opportunities that there are to do a lot of things are huge, and people are scrambling from all over the world trying to get here. So the very first thing is, as bad as it is, and as much as you may disagree with the other guy and that we're all going to hell and that everything's is getting destroyed, it isn't getting destroyed.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of great stuff happening, no matter who's in charge. If the left is in charge, there's a lot of good stuff going on. If the right is in charge, there's a lot of good stuff going on.
So it depends on how we look at things. It's our perspective on things that determines whether or not we can be at peace and accept.
I think it's our perspective on the big picture. I think that we can have strong feelings about the way we think things should be taken care of, and we're always going to disagree on that. But the big picture of the cosmos is big, the trees are growing, and the trees are going to hell, the environment's being destroyed. That's a lot of that is over the top worry, and there's
Well, if we all did our part, and like each one of us planted a tree, for instance, or each one of us composted, or each one of us tried not to buy a new car every season, or a new, new. If we all did our part, it would be an uplifting of the situation rather than everybody panicking.
Yeah, and if we're worried about it, then do more composting or do more environmental work. Make your own footprint smaller, and be thankful for it and revel in that you're doing that, because that's one thing you can do. And some of these things that we're worried about, we got no chance to do anything about it. And there are other things in life besides that, so that when we're worried about something big like that, we're generally, myself, I'm talking about, I'm just taking myself too seriously. I'm getting all wound up over stuff that I can't do much about, and that there are other wonderful things happening.
I get a lot of comfort in sending positive energy through meditative moments, where I can actually visualize the healing of our beautiful our planet. I visualize it, and, I take a moment out of every day, sometimes a couple times a day. It gives me comfort to know that this mental energy, because our thoughts are powerful. And if we realize that if there was like an energy cloud attached to every thought we have, and you could measure was it a positive or negative charge coming out of our mental power.
Which there is.
There is,
We
of
just
course,
can't
but
see
I'm
it.
trying to describe it to somebody who might not have experienced that yet. Because if we put out positive thoughts, there's going to be a different kind of energy charge.
That's right.
And so when I meet a person, for instance, who goes into a lament, they're upset, they're negative, they're scared, they're angry, whatever the lament is, I listen to them and I shake my head and I know I understand them, but I don't engage because I don't want to deny them what they're feeling, but I think it's really important to focus on the positives. And if you say to somebody who's very emotional of all this ice stuff going on and all the environmental stuff and all the war stuff, and if you try to interject like a positive note, a lot of times people are just not ready to hear it. So I do a lot of quiet mental like comforting. And if they see that I'm not responding and I'm not getting into a discourse, they might even ask something like, well, what do you think? And then once they've asked that, then that door is open because maybe they're genuinely interested to know that just by my silence, I'm not participating in activating the energy, which to me is negative, to be angry, to be feeling that everything is, going to shit. So that's what I do. What do you do, Carter, when you run into somebody who's expressing the fact that they're worried or sad or depressed or, sometimes I even ask people, you're not going to commit suicide, are you? I have asked people that because there are some people that I've met who are so distraught over the state of the world. But you know what? When I was a young person, or even before I got so totally into the spirit side of life, I used to be like that myself.
Yeah.
I was pretty suicidal with drugs and alcohol. It's a natural human thing.
Especially for the younger people. It's natural for the younger people to be upset and want to change the world. The older you get, the less you don't think the world is so bad. But it's easy to, for somehow the young kids are feeling the world needs to be changed and that everything's awful. That's just a natural.
That's the role of the young kids. Yeah, it is. But I've run into people my age, and they are from a different perspective. They think politics is their religion. They think that if the political arena is not the way that they want it to be, then their whole reality is shaken.
Well, so here's a question.
Wait a second. I just put something out there, so you can't just ask a question. Like, can you respond to that?
What's the question again?
It's not a question. You're not paying attention, Carter.
I was thinking about something else. I'll confess.
I'm saying that when I run into somebody my age, a peer, and they are absolutely distraught because this is my opinion, and I want to know your reaction to it. They think that politics is their religion. They do not talk spirit. They do not talk about a bigger force. They do not talk about, the acceptance of what is. They talk about their anger, their doubt, their confusion, and because it's the politics, and they're
okay. So
they're
here's
angry.
The question. So the first thing is that a bad thing? Is it okay for them to be running around being pissed off and angry about stuff, or do you think that's a negative state, and that we should all be trying to not be in that state? I mean, that's the first thing.
Yes, I think that as much as possible, it would be conducive to forward movement in evolution and coming up with solutions, creative solutions, if one does not buy into the negative aspect of what's going on.
Wallow around in the anger and the finger pointing and calling the names.
I think
and
it kills
emotional.
It kills creativity.
Okay. I agree with you.
It makes you in a fear state. You're contracted.
Okay, I agree with you. So then,
thank you for answering. Okay.
Okay, so then the next question is, what do you do if somebody comes at you and they're pissed off and they're yelling about some political aspect, and it may even be something that you agree with, or not agree with. And so usually if it's something that you don't agree with, then you start to get pissed off. But if it's something that you agree with, then you just want to somehow take the edge off. But let's just say that we agree. I agree, and maybe other people don't. But I agree. It's okay to be thinking about something that you think needs to be different. But how you approach it and how you put it out into the world is very important. Because if you just come with negativism and just you bring all that angst, then we are just going to add to the problem. So what I try to generally do is look for a common ground, look for a question to ask, and look for a way to raise up the conversation to a level where maybe we could even have a discussion about it and see if there was some way to do something about it, or is there just no way to do something about it? But
that's noble. That's the noble approach for when you have like a negative energy coming at one rather than, bark back at them. I mean, it's even better than my method, really, of being silent until I'm invited in with my opinion. I am always waiting for the invitation, and a lot of people don't give a.
Well,
they don't
good way
really
is to
care.
ask. One really good way that really works is asking questions.
Yeah, asking questions.
And listening to the other guy, because one of the things that one of the reasons people are yelling is because they don't feel like anybody's listening to them, myself included.
Right. So good questions to ask would be even like, I see you're upset. I feel you're upset. I understand you're upset. So maybe what can we do about it, but like what is the specific thing that you're most upset about? Because basically anger is like a general type of...
Or you could
it's
say...
a general reaction to things not going the way you want them to, right?
Yeah.
And it could be a real specific thing.
And if things could be different, how would they be different so that this problem wouldn't exist? And is there anything you can think of that we can do right now that would make this better?
Right, looking for solutions. That's why, to me, it's very important to keep the uplifting, positive energy, because I know for a fact, because I'm a creative, and all my life I've been devoted to creativity, and I don't get involved with selling it too much because that's when I get scared, and that's when I stop making things because I can't sell them. But yet if I have a job or I have a business, which I've always done all my life, I have a resource. So my creativity is almost like, my addiction. I can do it unfettered. But if I'm thinking, how am I going to sell this? And how much money can I get for that? Then I go into the fear mode. And it just stops me from being creative.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important, like even with issues like social issues, like how much food to give people and how can we get food to them. Like if we have anger in our heart, we're not going to come up with the best solutions. And if we try to keep it light,
For
like,
sure,
okay,
we're
that's
not gonna come up with the best. We're just gonna make things
that's
worse.
the issue that we have together. So let's just be positive about it, and then solutions just come. They just arise from our innate creativity, our innate abilities to think out things. This beautiful human brain that we have.
Yep, and if you think that kindness and serving other people, if that's your goal, if that's your ideal, which is what Jesus did, which was be in service to other people, mainly of all the things that he was, you could say he was basically a servant or in service to others, and always thinking about other people, not himself. So if one can think about the other guy, and if somebody's yelling, then you would, if you think that it's not healthy for him to be yelling and angry, then you could focus your attention on how to alleviate that and how to be in service so that this person can have a better day. Then automatically, right off the bat, you've made the world a better place, because now you are trying to alleviate some anxiety, and that's making the world better. And there's a million ways to do this, and the whole world is so big, and there's so many people and so much going on that anytime that I'm wallowing around down and pissed off at something about Carter and I'm being offended or somebody's saying something nasty, there's always a cosmos of stuff that makes that so small that it's actually ridiculous to be wallowing around in it and just having it ruin my day.
Right.
So the world is huge, man. And
so you like to focus on the big picture and see that there's so much more positive things going on, like even like the pollution situation.
Yeah, and you can stop and get lost in a leaf, a teeny tiny little leaf on the most mundane yard that's perfect and has been cut, and the grass is perfect. Even not in the like you don't have to go to Yosemite to appreciate nature. You can appreciate the complexity of a leaf anywhere you are. And it can completely take your mind into a whole nother frame and a whole nother.
It's like forest bathing and people like wanting to touch the earth with their bare feet. I mean, there's so many things that we can do to remember that there are so much. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that the improvement in our approach to taking care of this earth or taking care of each other is vastly big compared to a lot of people who are into the fear factor. And I just want to give one example. When we first got married 34 years ago, we went up to Maine, which is where Carter's from, and the river up there had been polluted since
1904.
Since your father was a kid, right?
My father never swam in the river. He was born in 1906, and we started swimming in the river, and he said, "Jeepers creepers, I never swam in the river."
So the rivers were polluted outside of, probably all during the state of Maine, because the rivers fed the energy used for mills, textile mills.
And the Hudson River in New York, it's the same.
Right. So I went up and I said, well, it looks good to me.
Now, way cleaner.
I got the conservation people to come down, and they throw out these little bottles attached to a line, and they go to the middle of the river and they throw out, and then they take it to the lab and they analyze it. And they're basically looking for contaminants like E. coli. And, the river was clean when that was 1992. And so since then, it's never been polluted. Every time we go up there, it's a gorgeous river. It's the Presumpscot. And a lot of Europe was very polluted. I knew that friends of mine said the same thing, with all the rivers were polluted after World War II. And then they went through a huge cleanup because people's awareness
in the 80s, I think it started in the 70s. And in the 80s, but
the awareness uplifting happened right after World War II, because it got so bad. I mean, the rivers were just cesspools, and maybe they couldn't swim in them until the 70s.
You may
or 80s.
Be right, but I think it was after that, because I remember they didn't start cleaning up the Hudson. They didn't make an effort. They didn't start talking about the Hudson River until, I was living there in the 70s. There wasn't one word about cleaning up the Hudson. And then they started talking about it around the late 70s and the early 80s. They started talking about the rivers in the country, because a couple of rivers caught on fire. You remember that river?
Oh, my God. River catching on fire.
Caught on fire because there was so much crap in it.
I'm not surprised.
And the St. Johns River in Florida was just like a disaster. But it's a lot better now, and it just keeps getting better. So there's a lot of really good stuff going on.
And people forget that. They just focus on one little tiny aspect that the news is broadcasting, and then they just think that the world is filled with gloom, and we have to remember how well we're doing in taking care of this planet and taking care of our fellow man and sharing things instead of focusing on what sells the news, and that's what the media does. I mean,
here's a perfect example. We were having a discussion, and everybody is upset about the fact that 50% of the 50% of the wealth in this country is in the top 10%. and then the bottom 50% have only got 3 or 4% of the wealth, or something like it, some huge number. And it's been people are appalled by it. It's in the newspaper all the time. There's a lot of discussion about the disparity, and so just for some reason, I'm not sure why we were talking about it. So I said, well, let's look up and see what the disparity, how different it is now than it was in 1950. It was almost the same. And I put 1900, almost the same. 1800, almost the same. The numbers are basically haven't changed. And of course, there's a lot of billionaires around.
The population
Everybody's
has
pissed off.
multiplied.
Yeah, but the percentages of the
percentages
is and the bitching and crying about the system that we're all under, which is capitalism, has increased the extreme poverty level is 94% better than it was 80 years ago under the capitalism that everybody thinks is so terrible. So what's happening is there's a huge amount of discussion about this in the paper. Everybody's pissed off about it. It isn't even true. And there's a classic example of getting upset about something that is overblown and isn't. It was hard for me to believe actually that the numbers were almost exactly the same. But if Grok is right, unless Grok is lying, then it's basically pretty much the same. And so it's just a matter of not getting wrapped up in blaming the rich or blaming some neurotic situation. Things change, and they change slowly, and we're going to be working on that. And they're trying to despair the wealth around, and they'll get to it. It's happening. Yeah. But it's not. The world isn't ending, and there's massive opportunity for everybody. And also there's a lot of things that people have, like my son, for instance, who recognizes that he doesn't make as much money as most of his friends. But he's got a lot more free time, and he works for the government as a biologist in the woods. And he says, 50% of every day, I'm out in the woods enjoying the nature, my days are fantastic. And I'm not rich, but what value is that? I get home early on in the day. I spend time with my son. I get back at 4:30 in the afternoon. I've got plenty of time with my family. And he says, that's not a money coming in, but that's a value. And he says, I place value. Because I was asking him, I said, Joe, you need to make more money. And he said, yeah, I thought a lot about it. And he says, but I've got a lot of value that's not in the money. And he's right.
That's true.
He's absolutely right about that. And so all of us have these things that if we think about it in a different way, we have value in things like maybe where we live, we've got great bike paths, or we have, we may not be making $300,000 a year, but maybe we're living in a small little town where people are kind and friendly and there's not a lot of crime. Yeah. There's all kind of values in things that.
But see, what you're talking about is changing our perspective, changing our thinking,
yes,
rather than going along with what everybody else is doing, which is a lot of complaining, because most people are addicts to the news, and if they just get away from the news and start just looking at like you said, the value of life itself.
Well, it's a natural tendency to A, hate the rich, and B, to be jealous of somebody else. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. We've all got it, every single one of it. Me and everybody else, even Bill Gates. Everybody is jealous of the other guy. I was asking this guy who was a big, expensive hedge fund guy. I was asking him. I said,
very,
how much do you need for retirement? How much is enough? And he said, twice as much as you've got.
Right. Yeah.
So that includes everybody.
Well, that's the motivating force of his existence. I know who you're talking about, and
it's pretty funny, but it's true.
And like our son, I just want to bring a notation in here. Our son, who is like Carter said, he deals with nature, but he's also a spiritual student. He's involved in a study of spirit being the main focus of life, and how mind is the builder. and that every choice adds up. All those things. He takes a lot of time to think about these things, and he may not meditate every day because raising a family and having a young kid and having to provide but his mind
he makes the time to do it.
His mind is not just wrapped around
money,
a screen and being with people who value like what your car looks like, what your house looks like. He values a walk in the woods.
Yeah. So counting our blessings is a big thing, and I know everybody that's listening to this understands that. I'm not telling y'all anything you don't know, but just I myself have to remind myself that when I'm bitching and crying about stuff, I have to stop and say, look what you got, man. How many if you started counting your blessings right now, you wouldn't be done by midnight. There's just they're everywhere, and we're all rich beyond measure in this country. And
to be alive is a privilege. I mean, start with that, just to have life. It's what we make of it is our decisions.
Yeah, and
it's
if
our
we
choice.
don't have enough to eat, which a lot of people don't, then we just have to work on that first of all. But there's a lot of opportunities around to get food here, and anyway, it's easy to sit on a sofa. A lot of people don't even have a sofa, but most of us in this country have got access to things if we just become proactive, and we become and we pay attention, and we take advantage of the opportunities we have, and look out for the other guy and think about the other guy instead of ourselves all the time. I'm talking to myself, and I'm not talking to anybody else.
You needed to give yourself a pep talk. That's good. I'd like to just throw it out there. Something that I tell myself a lot is I am not this body. I am not even this personality that is called teZa, and I am not all those adjectives I use, like a woman or tall, or in her 70s, or interested in music and art. I am not all those things. Those are just like passing fashions. But what I really am is this energy that's called a soul, that's called, your psyche. It's like that deep, deep, deep part of you that is true.
Eternal.
And connected with this magnificent cosmos, like you said. I mean, we are all connected, not just here on Earth, not just here in this little family that we have. We are interconnected. And the book that I'm writing right now has a lot to do with my early experiences in life, proving that. And I really had a hard time accepting it as a young person when I saw the fleet of spaceships that I'm now comfortable with talking about with other people. And, we are so connected with the cosmos that some of us have actually witnessed things that other people are not yet ready to accept. But I feel it in my everyday, the way that I'm connected with every single person I meet. I mean, I feel spiritually connected. I don't have to know you. I don't have to know your name. I don't have to know what your background is or your proclivities or your religion or your race. I just feel connected to the energy of all life.
Yeah, a lot of people have had near-death experiences. There's lots of them now, and they're recorded, lots of them. So there's a lot of evidence that we all die, we go on. You and I believe that we come back in reincarnation, but you don't have to believe in that. It doesn't make any difference. But if you die and you keep going and you go on to another sphere, then that means, and I believe this is a very important thing to think about, is that we are all eternal. Every one of us is eternal. We're never going to die. And I know some atheists and certain people don't believe that, but I don't care if they don't believe it. I do. And I know lots and lots of other people do. And these near-death experiences are proof. There's proof all around us. eternity. If we're
Yeah, but
all
we can
eternal,
accept other people's opinions.
Sure,
they can
they
have.
can have an
They can
opinion.
have.
They
But
don't
we're
have
just
to-
talking about our. This is our podcast. We're talking about
It's our podcast.
our beliefs.
So as far as I'm concerned, we're eternal. And if that's true, which I know in my heart that it is, that we are eternal, then we have one other thing, which I have never given myself much time for, and that is we've got time. There's no rush. We've got plenty of time. Even if we die tomorrow, we're going to keep on living. There's plenty of time.
Your spirit is going to keep on living, not this ego called Carter.
Is in the study that we do, they say that if you can't get close to God if you don't have patience. And I remember the first time I heard that, I said, "You got to be kidding me! Of all the things that there are,
Because you had no patience.
That would be the last damn thing that I would think of that you have to be close to God." But I've been thinking about that now for a couple of years, and it's an interesting thought that if you don't have patience, you can't be close to God, and that's because we are eternal, and there's just plenty of time. And I, who have been in a hurry my whole freaking life, and even to this day, I'm running red lights and stop signs and racing around
It's
like
funny.
an idiot.
I mean, you look like a cartoon character.
I think somebody was complaining about it the other day. My daughter's friend said, "I saw your old man the other day. We had to get out of his way." And it's true. And it's every once in a while I recognize it, and I think it's how ridiculous it must look for a 79-year-old man to be dashing around town like an idiot. I'm not even in a rush. I don't even have to be anywhere. I'm just my nature. So
It's your personality, Carter.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
It's your personality.
That
But isn't it comforting to know that you don't have to get
do
everything done, that you feel your soul? Like, I'm the same way.
And I don't have to be that way. I can choose not to be.
I want to learn how to play Bach. I want to speak Spanish fluently. I have all these desires, and that's good. I just don't say, "Oh, I'm a failure if I don't achieve them." I just have this, desire, and that motivates me to just be so energized about life, so interested. And I don't feel a rush. I don't have to learn the well-tempered clavier today. I can work on it for whatever time I have left, and then I can come back and proceed in the next show, the next
you
iteration.
may end up being Mozart, who started composing stuff when he was 3 years old. Tell me that's not coming from another world. That's coming from somewhere.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because a friend of ours who's in our study group, she says, well, she reads the Bhagavad Gita a lot. And she said the purpose really of the Bhagavad Gita is to prove that you should have no desires. And I just say to myself, well, I mean, I've studied a lot of yogic scriptures, and that never set true to me, because I think that desires, if you have good desires, that's motivating. But you just don't have that attachment that they have to be fulfilled that minute in this lifetime and the way you want it to be.
Right.
It's like an urge to make a nice turkey. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and I am a real expert of making all sorts of good food, but I have this desire to do something different. So I have another recipe, and it's like really interesting. I'm filled with this energy, like, wow.
You're going to make the turkey different.
I'm going to do something. I'm going to brine.
Don't do it.
I'm going to brine it. I'm going to put a pomegranate glaze on it, and you're going to love it, Carter. Everything I do, I'm going to do it. But I think that it's healthy to have a good relationship with a desire and not to feel so... what's the criteria of my life, whether I'm successful or not, is whether it is achieved. Like with my books, I love making books. I have given up thinking that people even want to read them because it hasn't been happening. I'm more interested in the making of them.
That's right. So that brings us finally at the end, before we close on this, to success. What is success?
Yeah,
So success,
we started talking about that this morning.
Success is really is not necessarily how we judge it in this country. It's not a physical thing. Success is just being at peace and being whole and being just being relaxed and calm and on the now and living for the moment and respecting ourselves and respecting others and just being. And it would not necessarily, I mean, you can be a really good, successful dishwasher or cleaning or not even doing anything, sitting in a handicapped situation. You can just be successfully there. And there's all kinds of success. And I, in particular, have got to not come with some expectation that I'm putting on things, but just to recognize that the day is great, and if I do it this way and get recognized, great. But if I don't, that's great too. And success is
to accept
all
what,
around
to,
us.
wait, you're talking about accepting what comes your way, even though you have goals, but to accept what is, and just feel that is
and
the
be
success
in
of
tune with
life.
the universe, and that's there's all kind of wonderful successes around them, and I've spent a lot of time putting myself down because I wasn't successful at this or that, but it's all an illusion. Every bit of that's just illusion. It's in my own mind, and because as long as I'm in tune with God and being good to others.
And which you
That's
are.
the main thing.
To me, you're the most successful person I know, because you are such a giving, kind, but hilarious person, cartoon of a man. That
I'm the court jester. I've come to realize that I'm the court jester after all these years. It took me so many years to figure out what it is, but I'm the court. But the court jester is a good thing because he brings jokes and laughter.
You got to keep it light, or else we can't fly.
You got to push.
Like the angels. They used to say that to me when I first got sober, because I was so intense. And people really,
you were pretty intense, Tez, I will say,
really made it strong that you have to keep light in life, or else this journey just becomes a burden. So keep things light, folks. And we love you. If somebody
you are successful,
and yes,
as long as you're feeling love and kindness to others, you are a great success.
And if nobody has told you today, I love you, and Carter does too. Om Namah Shivaya.
All right, in a minute. Next time, the Geechee Gullah Festival's coming up next week.